NGN's presentation of the Chesapeake Invite brought to you by Elemental Technologies, perfecting the media experience with multi-screen delivery solutions for the modern world. And Patagonia, team sales and discounts for athletes seeking exceptional quality and peak performance.
Welcome to NextGen's continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. We are here with our final game of the weekend. It's the Women's Championship at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have a great matchup here between Washington, D.C. Scandal and Boston's Brutesquad. Both teams undefeated coming into the final. Brutesquad beating a rising Molly Brown team in the semifinal. Scandal looking to continue to hit its stride after a rough weekend at the U.S. Open.
Right, in a tale of two teams there at the Open. Scandal, who is a favorite there, really struggled, didn't even make the semis, where Brutesquad kind of stepped into its own with this new roster and really exerted new dominance over the rest of the field. Scandal will come out in a poach here.
Layla Tennell, who was missing from the Brutesquad U.S. Open roster, is here this weekend. She's going to be handling in this zone. This goes up to Bitterman. And Tennell rips a huge inside-out backhand. Sarah Ito giving chase. And Ito applies pressure. It goes off the hands of the Brutesquad receiver.
That's just enough to disrupt the offense's focus, and there is a call here.
I think
Matsuko with the explanation.
We get another look at this huck. A great rip by Tennell, slightly upwind, so it's going to hang longer than she wants. Ito goes up, and the Brutesquad player got her hand on it. I'm not sure that there was any foul. And after conferring with Mitch Dangler, it will be Scandal's disc. O'Connor back to pick up the disc for the Scandal D-line.
That's a great bit of positional D there. She was giving up a few inches. Here's we see Scandal start that offense again. They're headed downwind. Let's see if they look deep here. They absolutely will. It's a shot to the end zone.
That's Crystal Davis for Sarah Ito. So Ito doing some nice conditioning, running a few 70s here on this first point. And that's the first break of the game to start things off. DC goes up 1-0.
Yeah, just total confidence here. They have the wind at their backs. They're running and gunning. Scandal's coming out hot. They know they're going to have to come up early. They want to ride this early energy and these early breaks out. Put themselves in a good position late game.
So Washington, D.C. Scandal off to the powerful start. Trying to rebound from a tougher U.S. Open performance where they were missing a number of key players. We get a look there at Coach Alex Gesquier. Octavia Opie-Payne was also in the frame. Two members of the USA World Games team that won gold last summer. Payne trying to clarify defensive assignments on the line.
Signal has been given. The pull will go up. Not much of an issue. Getting fair distance on this pull. Boston picking up to what appears to be a man defense. Scandal giving chase.
Emily Bacher rips it deep. And a great second effort catch by Elena Schwamm. And that is a great hold for Boston. So we get another look at this throw from Bacher. Initially macked off both the receiver and the defender, but Schwamm stayed with it and held on for the goal. So Boston ties the game at 1. So Boston Brutesquad ties the game at 1. We see Gina Titcomb, young player from Tufts, getting set to pull. She's battling a knee injury. Played a big role in Brutesquad's run to the finals last weekend at the US Open.
Here's our first look at the Scandal offensive line.
And the disc is centered to Alika Johnston. Johnston, the University of Virginia product. She's working out there with Jenny Fay, who's in her last year on the team. She wasn't at the US Open. Crossfield shot. Alicia White working in tandem. Jenny Fay with the disc now, and she's gonna break the mark, but her break throw goes behind Ashley Daly. Leanne Hoffman was there on the D. Cammie Groom now has the disc. Hoffman comes under, Groom takes off. Brian Hoffman and Groom, two of those new additions for Brutesquad coming over from Nemesis in the offseason.
Right, Ian. Here we are right outside the goal line. We have a Scandal player down. She appears to be okay. Surely a foul stoppage. The players will hug it out.
Claudia Tajima with the disc. Swings to Titcomb. Titcomb and Tajima working in the handler space. Titcomb inching closer to the goal line. And Cammie Groom gets to the four-side cone before her mark. And Brutesquad gets its break back after an uncharacteristic turnover from Jenny Fay in the red zone. An aggressive break mark shot that Hoffman was able to get her hand on. We take another look at the handler movement in the red zone here for Brutesquad. Good patience there, Brian.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be a key. As we've seen all weekend, the most successful teams have been the ones that are able to get the disc side to side in the goal line, use those handlers, not force any of those inside throws that are getting eaten up by the swirly, unpredictable wind.
So Boston breaks and brings this game back on serve, 2-1. Gina Titcomb will stay out there and work with this Brutesquad D-line. Scandal loading up this offensive unit a little bit to ensure a hold. We see Opie coming over. Center to Jenny Fay. Over to Opie. Back to Fay. Opie. Fay. Molly Roy. Alicia White. Back to Roy. Alicia White.
Boston Brutesquad breaking out of their poachy defense. They're in sort of a 3-3-1, tending to find cutters once they enter their own zone. Scandal's broken out, and it looks like Boston's transitioned to a full man-to-man defense.
Jenny Fay trying to break the mark. Instead finds Opie, and she attacks, gets the disc back. Fay resets to Payne. Fay back to Payne again. Well defended by Shira Klein, but nobody's guarding Alika Johnston. She tries to give and go with Fay, and a nice little offhand backhand from Jenny Fay. As that point wore on, out of the transition, just nice handler movement between Fay, Johnston, and Payne.
Yeah, Ian, great presence of mind to find Johnston there. Johnston's defender kind of hang back to head over to that disc that was trapped on the sideline. Sort of put a lot of pressure. Once the disc gets swung over, you'll see that her defender leaves behind to go pick up the disc, leaving Johnston alone in the middle. Good motion. There's the offhand backhand. Dangerous throw at any level of play. We've seen so many lefty scores from ready players today.
Jenny Fay, one of the more talented throwers in the women's division, has had that throw in her arsenal for a while. As we notice the wind picking up here. And looking forward at the rest of this game, we got a chance to talk with one of Brutesquad's coaches, Mike Lawler, and he mentioned that the thing most concerning for him was Scandal's defense. Some of their handler poaches that sag in the lane. He's excited for his team to get the opportunity against a high-level defense this early in the season. Dory Zipperstein. Back to Zipperstein. Scandal's junk, giving the Brutesquad offense pause. Tennell to Paula Seville. Tennell to Malinowski. Malinowski with a floaty thing over the top to Layla Tennell. Tennell giving and going inside the cup. A nice break to Zipperstein. Continues to Malinowski. Back to Zipperstein. Seville. Tennell. A nice throw through the cup from Tennell to Seville. Back to Zipperstein, and she's going to shoot deep. Ito giving chase, hoping for her second deep D. And she blocks it again. Sarah Ito, one of the members of the Washington, D.C. Scandal team who tried out for the MLU's D.C. Current, a men's league. Payne shooting deep. Ito giving chase. And with that downwind throw, the throw's gonna die and fade before Ito can get there. The Scandal sideline yelling, Brian, as you hear, to set the zone.
Right, Ian, it was sort of a wishful throw she had there. Very useful as a punt. You don't want to be caught near your own goal line in this sort of windy condition. You want to give them as much of the field to work as you can, as Brutesquad is now back behind their own brick mark. Having quite a bit of trouble with this Scandal three-man wall.
Be interested to analyze this and see if there are any double team violations going on, because some of the members of that wall are relatively close at times without other handlers present. Layla Tennell near her own goal line. Back to Zipperstein. Motioning for Malinowski to be a more viable around option. Back to Tennell. Zipperstein. Tennell. Malinowski. Zipperstein. A nice throw up the middle. Bitterman. Malinowski. Payton. Bitterman. Tennell. Good movement here, working out of the shadow of their own end zone. Tennell. Up to Seville. Seville. Looks up to Payton. Payton to Tennell. And Tennell finds Laura Bitterman. And just when we thought Brutesquad was going to be stuck in its own end zone for too long, they figure it out, swing the disc, and march up the field.
Right, Ian, that's quite the series there for Brutesquad. They once caught a pass. I think that they're only a couple feet from the back of their own end zone. Oftentimes, that's enough for the defense to rile the offense up enough to make a silly turnover and be in potential Callahan territory. Saw Brutesquad basically march it up the field using a series of 15 or 20 throws even, just right up the line. Short things, no need to take big risks. Heavily relying on Tennell and their other sure-handed throwers to keep possession, hustle down the field. So go up 3-2.
Brutesquad sending a D-line out there with after an important upwind hold. They're going to hope to put similar pressure on Scandal's offensive unit. Claudia Tajima, involved in Brutesquad's offense significantly last weekend, will pull. Tajima also out of Tufts. Played on the mixed U23 USA team that won gold in Toronto last summer. Alika Johnston crashing into the cup. A nice throw through to Alicia White. Continues to Faye. Back to White. Back to Faye. Faye finds Daly underneath. Daly resets to Johnston. Johnston to Alicia White. Back to Faye. Faye shoots up for Alicia White. Molly Roy had a shot at the disc in the back of the end zone. Can't quite get there. A rare mistake from Faye. And Claudia Tajima will run up to the line, bring the disc in. A great cut from Cammie Groom, another speedster who came over from Nemesis.
Those Nemesis players having an immediate impact on this Boston Brutesquad. Squad.
Bacher on her own goal line. Resets to Shira Klain, sister of Josh Klain, a handler on Minnesota Sub-Zero.
Brutesquad offense looking very confused right now. We do see Groom get one under. Lots of crowding. That can be a problem with these young rosters that have a lot of new faces on them. Knowing where your teammates are going to be at all times. We see the entire middle of the field is open. Looking for an isolation, she'll find Groom.
And after you mentioned that, Brian, that's a great adjustment by the Brutesquad cutters as Cammie Groom shoots deep to Sarah Jacoby. Jacoby dumps to Shira Klain. Klain 5 yards outside the end zone. The Brutesquad offense was struggling to get into place, but Klain with a nice inside throw to Emily eBay Bacher. And Boston breaks to go up 4-2.
Yeah, Ian, big point for Boston here. Pretty long point. Both teams had their shots. We thought that Boston was going to turn it over. Groom finds her target downfield, and they just take what's given to her. Right down the middle there. Right in front of her for a score. An important early game lead here for Brutesquad. We've seen in previous games, whoever gets out earliest, fastest, often has a large advantage through the rest of the game as the other team is forced to play outside their comfort zone to try to gamble back points.
So Washington, D.C. trying to find its stride, doing well, making its way back to the finals after a tough weekend last weekend. Notably missing possibly the most athletic defender in the women's division, Sandy Jorgensen. But they sure have plenty of other stars here that are capable of doing the job. Brutesquad's Chena Titcomb getting set to pull. Payne comes out to support the offense, centers to Faye. Back to Payne. Over to Faye. Johnston. Johnston with her trademark high release flick fake. Payne finds Alicia White. Faye around to Johnston. Back to Faye. Over to Alicia White. Up to Jenny Faye. Lots of lateral movement here from Scandal's offense. Great pressure from Hoffman on Payne. This is a great matchup. Jenny Faye looking at the inside option, now trying to reset to Payne. Good pressure from Hoffman once again. Payne, her throw for Faye is just a bit too far. And Bacher's gonna pick up. Hoffman goes deep, not an option. Bacher finds Kiso. Kiso continues to Christy Kim. Christy Kim with a nice around backhand and a great continuation throw. Inside by Brutesquad. An incredible throw by Emily Bacher. Gina Titcomb makes the grab. As we get another look, there's yet another offhand backhand. Titcomb with full extension on that grab.
Brutesquad will use this opportunity to communicate, talk out their offensive strategy.
And great work by Courtney Kiso in the red zone, driving her defender close enough to the thrower where she has to respect it and stay tight, and then take a jab step back to the force side and get separation. And Boston starting to build an early lead. They're up 5-2. Boston's handlers showing great composure on the turn so far, Brian.
Absolutely. We've seen them not be flustered by this upwind end zone.
And we've got a timeout by Scandal. Brutesquad leads 5-2. We'll be back after this word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's continuing coverage, the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. We are live here in Leesburg, Virginia at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. Brutesquad jumping out to a surprising 5-2 lead thanks to the play of some of their defensive handlers, namely Gina Titcomb out of Tufts, who's about to pull for Brutesquad. A young player playing with composure beyond her years.
Boston Brutesquad relying heavily on their handlers to move the disc downfield. Their first look is rather, instead of being a dump back, they want to get that disc upfield, be aggressive and attack. Here the pull goes up. Brutesquad very loud on the sidelines. They're going to pin Scandal deep in their end zone.
Here's Alika Johnston over to Jenny Faye. Faye looking inside for Daly. Not sure if the wind influenced that, but that one went into the turf right away. Claudia Tajima picks up. Resets to Shira Klain. Klain's got a defender wide open on the break side, but she's only open because of a pick that happened earlier in the point. Brutesquad with a surprising chance here to go up 6-2. Klain looking at her options, and she finds a receiver in the front of the end zone. And Brutesquad capitalizes on yet another uncharacteristic Scandal mistake. And they are in control here, 6-2. A reminder that these games at this tournament are played to 13, so Brutesquad breaks here. They're going to take half 7-2.
Right, and Scandal is reeling right now. They're trying to do anything they can. It's just really just throws and catches here at this point. That throw may have been knocked down by the wind, but that's a throw you'll see them make 99 times out of 100. I'm sure they'd rather these mistakes not come in the finals, as both these teams have had a pretty comfortable road to the championship, not really allowing any other teams to come close to beating them. A strong matchup we're seeing here. Probably a little more one-sided on the scoreboard than it should be.
So Layla Tennell, who proved to be an excellent handler against Scandal's earlier zone looks, is getting set to pull.
Scandal sidelines trying to pick up their on-field comrades.
And we're mindful that the World Cup is going on right now, so thank you for those of us who at least have Next Gen up on a double screen. Here's Johnston with the disc. O'Connor. O'Connor resets to Johnston.
Brutesquad winning their 3-3-1.
O'Connor sends it around. Disc gets to Opie Payne. Payne inside to Daly. Daly up to O'Connor. O'Connor. Over to Payne. Back to O'Connor, close to a Tennell poach. O'Connor doesn't quite have anyone back, but she gets the around off. And Hudson continues to Daly. And Scandal gets a much-needed score. Good composure from the Scandal offense on that point. As we look at O'Connor setting up the dump swing, Hudson continues to Daly. A nice offensive hold for DC Scandal.
And nearly out of reach there. Would have been certain disaster to have a turnover there, but Scandal wipes its brow. At least gets into the end zone one time more this half. They'll try to defend, put a few more points on the board before we take our break.
A reminder that games here are to 13, so halftime will come when a team reaches 7. We get a look at both coaches giving instruction. That's Mike Zalisk. Had a lot of experience with Boston Ironside, and Alexander Gasquier, who's come over from the Bay Area to coach Scandal and the DC Breeze after having significant success with Revolver as both a player and a coach. Octavia Payne with the pull. Seville over to Zipperstein. Zipperstein is going to send a deep shot to Tennell. Faye and Ito giving chase, but Tennell makes the grab. The observer rules that she's in the end zone. Layla Tennell, one of the queens of this first half for Boston Brutesquad, and that brings us to halftime as we get another look at this huck from Dory Zipperstein. Tennell went up at the right moment. Not sure if the ruling that she was in was completely correct. She came down very close to the goal line. But Tennell with a sure-handed grab, and Brutesquad leads 7-3. We'll be back in 10 minutes after halftime concludes. Welcome back to Next Gen's continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour here in Leesburg, Virginia, with live coverage of the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. I'm Ian Toner, joined here by Brian Kiernan. Brian, we've seen an absolutely dominant first half from Boston Brutesquad.
Right, Ian. We were looking forward to a more balanced game. These are both two women's teams that have had a pretty successful weekend, going undefeated. No teams very coming that close. And now we see here in the final that Brutesquad may have yet another one of those not very close games here, as they're in great position in the final, up on Scandal, last year's national champion, in a good position to come in, take the second half, and win the Open.
A few corrections for you. We misidentified a few players on Brutesquad in the first half. Number 16 is actually Kirsten Unfried, not Shelly Payton. Unfried, interestingly, a player who's joined Brutesquad after winning the national championship with Scandal last year. Discus sender to Jenny Fay. Back to Fay. Up to Alika Johnston. Powerful handler for Virginia Hydra women's college team. Fay goes up line. Fay looks inside. Johnston with an incredible grab in front of Tajima. Fay up line. And a turnaround inside cut. Another great grab for Alika Johnston. The bite-sized wrecking ball does it again. Two incredible grabs in a row, putting the Scandal offensive unit on her back on that point, Brian.
Yeah, and this is one of the last competitive games of the day. Of course, being the finals, we've drawn somewhat of a crowd, and the noises that came from the crowd after both of those Johnson grabs were just sheer awe. She can make plays much bigger than her frame suggests. So much fight. She's got a smile on her face, rightfully so. Scandal maybe, hopefully getting a reason to come back and rattle off a couple breaks, throw themselves back into this game.
So Brutesquad leads 7-4 here in the second half of the Women's Championship at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We understand that World Cup final is also taking place, so thank you for tuning in and joining us this afternoon. Opie Payne getting set to pull for Scandal. Big outside in backhand, trying to use the help of the wind. That'll blade into the end zone. Discus centered to Leela Tennell. And more poachy, zony looks from Scandal's defense. Unfried to Malinowski. Back to Chang. Chang swings to Paula Seville. Blake Spitz back to Paula Seville. Through the cup to Chang. Chang up to Kirsten Unfried. Chang. Unfried dishes to Tennell. Malinowski's uncovered. Malinowski trying to reset the disc. And that's caught by Unfried. Good bid from Crystal Davis, the Scandal defender. Unfried doing a good job to maintain body positioning. Unfried resets to Tennell with a great grab of her own. Malinowski to the front cone, not quite in. And Laura Bitterman beats two Scandal defenders to the front cone. And that's an 8-4 Boston lead.
Boston Brutesquad not bothered at all by that zone. We saw Tennell, number of handlers, working it upfield, very confident. See a possession saving grab here. That dump was going slightly downwind and then beating both defenders to the cone. Brutesquad easily on top now.
8-4 Brutesquad leads. An impressive first half performance where they navigated challenges from Scandal's zone defense and were especially patient with their D-line offense. Gina Titcomb, young star from Tufts, getting set to pull for Brutesquad.
Scandal here ready for the pull. Anxious to put a couple more points on the board.
Titcomb's pull is going to go deep into the end zone. Hudson fields it, probably could have let it go out the back, but it goes up to Faye. And Brutesquad with a zone of its own. Johnston around to Alicia White. Johnston. White. Scuba over the top to Hudson. Up to Daly. White. Molly Roy. Jenny Faye. Resets to Johnston, who tries to throw and go but hangs on to it. A dump behind Faye. Upfield to Daly. Daly pumps the deep shot. Faye goes up line.
Faye choosing just to do it herself here on this point.
And there's contact. She tries to throw a casual high-release backhand for the dump, but
Scandal's looking
Chelsea Murphy got a hand on it, but does not contest the foul.
Scandal looking off a lot of deep shots here. I think Boston's defenders are taking notice, and there's a defiant D, yet the disc will return due to a foul call.
Murphy will be on the mark again. Faye resets to Daly. Behind to Johnston. Marked tightly by Shira Klein. Jenny Faye. Nice mark by Murphy, taking away the around look to Alicia White. Faye's throw to Daly is going to go back after a pick called.
Not many calls till this point in this game, Ian.
Faye to White. White to Hudson with a great grab past Emily Bacher. Faye breaks the mark. Daly with a nice grab. Daly gives and goes. Faye choosing the break side option to White. Back to Faye. Back to White. Out to Johnston. Faye goes up line. Johnston instead elects to go to Alicia White, who continues to Daly. Great patience in the red zone. Scandal gets a great hold, and you know, both teams actually have to be proud of that point. A lot of patience from the handlers on Scandal, and some stout red zone defense with great marks from Boston Brutesquad.
Yep, absolutely. Congratulations to Boston Brutesquad for forcing that many throws. It's really all you can ask for in that position, and also even better is the Scandal offense, who keeps 100% possession, takes the easy look, keeps rotating that point of attack, finds an open receiver in the front corner of the end zone. (8-5) here now. Game still within striking distance as long as Scandal can mount some sort of attack. A break or two would be more than welcome. Brutesquad, though, fairly comfortable. They got out to that early lead for a reason. They intend to hold it. Looking for 5 more points here to close out this game. They'll be receiving on offense. We've seen some pretty impressive pulls from Payne here. Impressive pulls from both teams when pulling from this upwind end zone. Upwind to downwind. Hopefully she can get this D going by pulling deep. Won't quite get there. Disc will be centered to Tennell. Scandal coming out again in that 3-3-1 zone. Disc is being stagnated. Brutesquad a little unsure of what to do now. Better give it back to Tennell. She switches the field. They find up the sideline. Scandal looks like they're converting to man out of that zone defense. Here they are working up the sideline. Tennell's covered. They're going to look for other options. Continuing up the forced sideline. A wide open swing to the break side. Here you are, Zipperstein. She'll hold it and wait for numbers. Looking back for her dump. Getting physical on the marks. Tennell finds herself open outside the end zone, and there's another Brutesquad score. That'll be 9-5.
Some great cutting there from Kirsten Unfried in the lanes. She was matched up with Kimberly Beach, two former teammates there. Unfried having to work very hard to earn some yardage.
Brutesquad really relying on the presence of Tennell there. And they find themselves in a bit of a sticky situation. The thrower always seems to look over and find that streaking handler. Tennell's done a great job so far.
So Brutesquad continuing to build on its early game and early season success. In control here in the women's final at the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have Emily Bacher getting set to pull for Brutesquad. Bacher will actually be joining Riot, top women's team out of Seattle, at the World Ultimate Club Championships in the first week of August in Lecco, Italy. Hudson centers to Johnston. Over to Hudson. Back to Johnston. We're seeing some lane poaches here from the Brutesquad defense, giving the Scandal handlers pause. Alicia White inside to Alika Johnston, up to Molly Roy. Roy's gonna shoot around her mark for Daly, and Daly maintains position with an impressive grab. A gutsy throw from Roy around her mark. And a strong grab from Daly, Brian.
Yep, as we can see here, we had Johnson moving up the field at an incredible pace, finding their receivers, sort of outrunning this Boston defense, keeping ahead of that intense handler pressure they've been bringing all day.
So DC narrows the gap. They trail Boston 9-6. We see Alex Gasquier giving instruction to his defensive unit. We've seen a number of zone and poachy looks from the Scandal defense. Though they've produced long points, they haven't really phased the Boston offense. We've seen their handlers work it up patiently.
Boston's handling unit, such confident throws. There's really not too much wind here. You'll see it affect the poles a little bit, but for most shorter range throws, neither team's having too much trouble. Boston being very patient, working it through that zone.
Payne with another big pull for Scandal. Center to Tennell. Seville. Oh, and Lauren Sadler comes in from the far side of the wall and blocks that pass. And Scandal converts the break right away. A nice little around behind dump. And Payne finds Crystal Davis. Brian, is that the spark that Scandal needs to continue to narrow this gap?
Oh, it could be. They're really excited on the field. This game is not too far out of reach. 7-9's very doable. They get another break here. This could be anyone's game.
We get another look at Sadler being aggressive and jumping in at the right time, and Payne sealing the deal with that nice break throw to Davis. Those are the types of turns that Scandal's zone has been looking to produce, being aggressive on those crashes.
First fruit here, really. They've been working hard and applying all that pressure, but it just seems like Boston able to connect on all those throws. Able to actually get the hand on the disc there. A lot of times these zones are designed to just phase the players into making a mistake, throwing a throw into the ground or out of bounds, but good hustle there to actually put hand to plastic and knock that disc down right on the goal line. Scandal calling out defensive signals. They're fired up.
Not sure how many points Payne has played this game, but we certainly haven't seen her on the sideline often.
That's right, Ian. This is the finals after all. Maybe a little fatigue there as Payne lets that pull get away from her.
Brutesquad's going to have the pull, have the disc close to midfield. Layla Tennell will bring the disc in. Scandal with more lane poaches, begging the Brutesquad defenders or throwers to go over the top, and Tennell finds Seville. Bitterman. Tennell. Chang. Seville. That was Schwam back to Tennell. Seville. Chang. Boston really doing a good job using the width of the field, making these Scandal defenders run a number of sprints back and forth. Disc back in Tennell's hands. Chang. A nice throw through the cup to Malinowski. Seville, Malinowski. A nice give and go, and she shoots into the end zone for Schwam. And a masterful Zone 0 point from Brutesquad's offense.
Yep, Ian, well handled by the offense. I don't know if Schwam was the intended receiver there, but any receiver that catches the disc in the end zone is as good as intended. Time running out for our defending national champions. They're going to trot back to the line in the interest of time, give themselves somewhat of a chance to get back in this game. Ian, this Brutesquad team is littered with former Callahan winners. I know Layla Tennell, one of their stars today, is one of them.
Paula Seville, among the others.
Lots of high-level college experience here.
We see Chyna Titcomb on the line. Perhaps a Callahan will be in her future. Still playing with Tufts. Brutesquad leads 10-7 here in the women's final. Scandal's gotten one break back here in the second half, trying to narrow the gap. Titcomb pulls. Faye fields to Johnston, back to Faye. There's a pick called. Faye over to Johnston. Back to Faye. Daly catches it and under. Back to Faye. Faye's going to shoot deep for Daly. A nice little give and go. And Daly's there. A nice throw to that leading outside shoulder from Jenny Faye to Daly. And Scandal's offense, after some lateral movement, is able to score and bring this game to 10-8.
Absolutely perfect connection. Scandal's really leaning on their star players here. Faye and Daly. Daly just absolutely looks as fresh as Saturday morning. Continues to run out there. Get those discs downfield for the Scandal offense. That'll bring us to 10-8, though Boston receiving. As a reminder, this game is to 13. So somewhat of an uphill for DC Scandal if they want to come back into this. I'm sure they're up to the task. Brutesquad signals they're ready for the pull. They're absolutely in no hurry to get this game going. They'd like to use as much time on that soft cap, hard cap as possible. A little confusion here on the DC side, but we should see the pull come up here in a matter of seconds. Yep, there's Payne with the pull. Her second straight pull, sort of that same spot. You have to wonder, late in the Sunday, played a lot of points in these finals, if fatigue's going to wear on her. Pulling out of bounds is such an understated advantage for the offense, giving them time to set up. Tanel will casually walk to the middle of the field. She has a cutter in isolation. Defended nicely. She swings back over to Zipperstein. Scandal flustering the offense. They'll put it deep. This is a bailout.
And Malinowski
climbs the ladder. Real strong grab. Malinowski there. We'll hear nothing of a Scandal comeback. She ensures the offensive hold for Boston. Looked like it could have been a punt initially, but that disc right on the money. Malinowski makes it look easy.
And we're at 11-8, Boston leading. Let's take a look back at our Patagonia play of the game, which came earlier in the first half. A tremendous grab and performance by Alika Johnston with 2 grabs in the red zone to save possession and eventually catch the score. That's our Patagonia play of the game.
Johnston's such a competitor. Those are big plays for the game, but she makes plays like that all the time. Just a routine outing.
She has another season to compete with Virginia Hydra. Gina Titcomb with another big pull. She's been a big presence for the Boston D-line. Jenny Faye. Daly. Out to Johnston. Johnston pumps the deep shot. Over to Faye. And a high stall reset to Johnston.
Scandal not getting the looks it wants downfield. Disc is staying a little too long in that handler set, and it's almost given away there.
Great dump defense by Shira Klein and others. Faye upfield to Daly. Daly looking for a reset. Faye's there. Can hang on. Klein takes off. Groom thought about picking up for a second. And Claudia Tajima will pick up. Groom goes deep. Tajima puts it up. Daly in pursuit. And Groom gets up, gets a hand on it, but is unable to come down with the disc. A good look for Boston's D-line, but they're unable to convert. Hudson now with the disc on her goal line. Over to Faye. Over to Hudson. Hudson back to Faye. Good poach from Boston, taking away the first option. And a deep shot from Hudson to Johnston is too far, too low. Tajima was also right on Johnston's hip.
Just not enough touch on that shot there. Brutesquad will have a chance to increase its lead here.
Tajima. Looks for Chelsea Murphy. Molly Roy called a pick. Disc is going to come back. Murphy.
Only 2 Brutesquad cutters in front of the disc. Their shape seems to be a little thrown off.
Great grab by Cammie Groom on the sideline. Gina Titcomb. Looking for a reset, finds Courtney Kiso. Kiso.
We'll have a stoppage.
Observer signaling that it's a pick call. Disc will come in on 5. And Claudia Tajima will call timeout. We have another chance for Boston Brutesquad to break here. They lead 11-8. We'll take a break and be back after this word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. Here live in Leesburg, Virginia at the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have coverage of the women's finals. Boston Brutesquad leads DC Scandal 11-8. Brutesquad with another chance to break here. Cammie Groom with the disc. Shira Klein gets an upline. Pumps a deep shot. Back to Kiso. Tajima. Tajima with a fake. Over to Shira Klein. Klein to the speedy Cammie Groom. Upline to Klein. Swings to Kiso. Dishy to Groom. Groom continues. Sarah Jacoby to Titcomb. Titcomb wants the inside. Tajima gets the dump. Klein gets the disc. Titcomb up line. That's another break for Brutesquad. They're in control here. They lead 12-8. They're now on game point here in the women's finals of the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge.
We see that timeout pay off. No set play out of the timeout, just a chance to collect their thoughts, get people organized maybe. We see them put it in the end zone as they've done so many times today and so many times this weekend, using those quick handlers. They're sure excited. 1 point away from a championship here at the Invite. Scandal looking a little downtrodden. They'll make their way back to the line. Certainly no shortage of heroics from their side either. We have the play of the game coming from Scandal athlete. Just as a collective, come up a little bit short here on this Sunday. They'll get some support from their sideline friends. The observer signal ready. We'll see the pole go up here.
Emily Bacher with the pole. O'Connor.
A man left open deep.
Sarah Ito is all alone. And Ito dishes and gets the disc right back. A very, very easy hold for the Scandal O-line. Perhaps some busted coverage from the Brutesquad defense.
Had to be a miscommunication. There's really no one back there with her. Good presence of mind, though, to figure out that she had no defense. She'll take an easy catch and an easy score. Scandal pulling to 12-9. Game to 13.
Opie Payne trying to mount some sort of comeback with her team.
There's that soft gap horn. Game will still be played to 13. But now a reminder to our competitors, they have only a limited time left in which to finish their runs.
Zipperstein centers to Tennell. Sadler close to her second zone D, but Zipperstein maintains possession. Seville with a nice throw up to Chelsea Whitty. Back to Zipperstein. Paula Seville. Seville to Tennell. And a creative blade over the top to Chelsea Whitty. Bitterman has all the time in the world. Gives and goes with Kirsten Unfried. Back to Tennell. Back to Seville. Around to Zipperstein. Zipperstein hears the shout of her teammate Bitterman and throws almost without looking the continuation around backhand. And that is going to win the Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge for Boston Brutesquad.
Yeah, Ian. Talk about trusting your receiver. Looks like all it took was a vocal cue. Here, just as soon as she turns around, the disc is out of her hands. Talk about chemistry. You get a lot of turnover in your roster. There's no better way to find those synergies than to go home with a tournament win here in the early season.
So Boston Brutesquad continues its early season success, taking down the defending national champion Washington, D.C. Scandal 13-9 in the final of the Chesapeake Invite. That concludes our coverage here. For Brian Kiernan, I'm Ian Toner. Thanks for tuning in.